first I'm a human being, and born in India, in a mountain place called Nainital, My early schooling was there. Uh, Professionally, I did my undergraduation and post-graduation in Christian Medical College, Ludhiana. I did my MD in medicine, clinical medicine. The year was 1978, the year of Alma Ata Charter. So anyway, my life after that, from being a clinician, moved to public interest work, community health development work. And so it has been. For 28 years, I was in Voluntary Health Association of India, the founder of which was Father James Tong, a Jesuit, visionary, believed in interfaith harmony and understanding. So the work, lot of my work was in the tribal areas, Bihar, in Madhya Pradesh, and Bihar now from where Jharkhand has come out, Madhya Pradesh from where Chhattisgarh has come out, Rajasthan. So, like Bihar worked with 4,000 non-governmental, non-profit making institutions in remote areas.
Okay.
So that's what my work was.
And
Anyway, been associated with Medico Friends Circle, the All India Drug Action Network, International People's Health Council, and maybe we'll come to PHM later.
now, why are you founder of PHM Global? How did it start?
Acha. Yeah. Well, Christian, a lot of community health and development work was going on for decades before that, And so if you recall, Gono Shaskin, the Bangladesh Sawar project, the Jamkhed community rural health project with Dr. Arole, Mabel and Raj Arole, Deen Bandhu. So late 70s, 80s, and we were all working together on many of these things. There was, if you recall, ACHAN, Asia Community Health Action Network, Medico Friends Circle was there from 70s. All India Drug Action Network came together when the drug policy issue was coming. So there was a lot of work going on in India and going on in the Asian region. So International People's Health Council, of which Maria Zuniga, Dr. Zafrullah Chaudhry, Dr. David Sanders, David Warner, Fran Baum, and Claudio, and David Legg, and if you remember, Maija Kagilis from Canada.
Yes.
We were all part of IPHC, and somewhere in mid 90s we had with Third World Network meeting in Penang, and there was a document brought out which was called I'm forgetting the name. That was the place, something moon something statement. So that was looking, all these networks and organizations were looking at what is happening to health for all by 2000. So Dr. Zafrullah said, 2000 is coming. We should do something to remind the world we were supposed to have health for all by 2000. So he was the one who was insisting that something should be held. So the People's Health Assembly that was held in Sawar, Bangladesh, lot of initiative of IPHC, Dag Hammarskjöld was involved. Consumer International, Dr. Bala Subramaniam, if you remember Bala.
Y-
Uh,
Yes, I
he was
do. A lot.
so. So Dr. Bala was the secretariat thing organizing, and the first coordinator was Dr. Qasim Chaudhary. You know, so
Yes, I know.
this was all preparation for the PHA. So the People's Health Network, um, People's Health Movement, emerged following PHA. And after Dr. Kasim, then Dr. Ravi Narayan became the global coordinator, then Hani, and then I think Bridget and Amit and all were sharing. But the fact that a whole lot of community health and development work was being done by several organizations in Asia and in Latin America and many groups. And so it was basically coming together of these various individuals, organizations, associations, and networks. And the People's Health Movement was formed.
Yes,
IPHC was the foundation.
I was in Bangladesh in 2000. You remember?
In, yes, yes, you were there. Yes.
With
You were
my
there?
daughter who was a baby.
Yes.
She's now 20. Obvious.
Acha.
So,
So, Nini, the point is that people should not imagine PHM started in 2000. See, that's the point I'm making. And Health Action International, like Health Action International Asia Pacific, I've been the former chairperson.
Bala.
So, so Dak Hammarskjöld, Achan, CI, all these organizations, including High Asia Pacific, were amongst the founders,
So,
of.
there's anything else you feel particular committed? You mentioned many areas. You are standing for from a clinician to an activist, but there's anything you want to add?
Add to PHM.
And to your commitment to PHM.
My commitment to PHM. See, earlier I was one of the founder members. Then I was in the steering committee. Now I'm in the advisory council. And so while preparation for PHA was going on in different countries, like Dr. Qasim came to India, met various groups, and a small core was formed that something should be we should do some preparatory work because India is closest to Bangladesh. So whole lot of groups
It's a
had
neighboring
gone
country.
from India, but more than that is we had the first National Health Assembly in Calcutta, in the Salt Lake Stadium, where a very large number of groups from different sectors had got together, and
How
many
many
of them
people?
stayed.
How
Yeah,
many
that was
people?
the Jan Swasth Abhiyan, the PHM India genesis was following that.
How many people are in PHM India?
Oh, see, because when you say networks, the networks are many. So how do you count?
Yeah, but in Germany we are about 100 maximum. So a figure of India would be nice.
It would be in thousands,
Yeah,
more than thousands. Yeah,
so
but we are a huge country.
you're also founder of PHM India, not only of PHM Global.
Yes. That meeting had taken place in Chennai when few of us had met when Dr. Qasim had come. This is before the PHA. This was the preparatory work, And so we formed. But I said the National Health Assembly was held in Calcutta when we were on the way to Dhaka for the PHA 1. So many people joined in National Health Assembly in Calcutta, and some people went by buses, and few could fly. Hmm.
I remember. Um, the PHM to me is the highest attainable state of health as a fundamental human right. This always was very important to me. What does it mean to you?
What does that mean to me?
Mm? Yes.
Actually, no, because no, I've been thinking about it, and when one thinks about attainable health, it is as the end result. Hmm. On a human being, your body, mind, soul, yeah, your social health, mental health, emotional health, physical health, all should be optimum. But I strongly feel when the determinants of health, the social, political, economic determinants of health are getting eroded or systematically hijacked, and if we do not talk about more strongly, that these determinants of health, if you erode them, there is no way you can have optimum health.
Yeah.
Or even, and at this particular point of time, the crisis is in this erosion that is taking place.
Yeah.
And so the and you're seeing that in physical, all kind of new diseases and old diseases, unaffordability of care, and also, where comprehensive healthcare was concerned, the increasing pharmaceuticalization, commercialization, huh? uh, corporatization of healthcare taking place. And all this is happening in the name of health. Costly private insurance, all this in the name of health. So the question is, where do we separate the health as we understand it, from this commodified version of, you can buy something, it's a very reductionist approach, while you blind spot everything else. So that kind of pathological perspective has to be challenged much, much more than it ever was before. Because we are seeing this, like we in 2000, we weren't talking about climate change and the ecological crisis to the extent it is now. The issue of the neoliberal policies and the effect they're having on the issues of unjust international trade regimes, little bit was there, but not to the predatory level at which we are seeing now. So you are right that that optimum health. Yes, of course, I believe in that, and that you to keep on emphasizing is physical, mental, social, spirit. I add spiritual, financial health, and spiritual is not religious, dogmatic, and all. It is your inner self, your inner truth, your conscience, and your divine superpower, whatever you believe in. Because I know many people do not believe in that. That's okay. That's perfectly all right. But you have to separate it from the dogmatic, fundamentalistic, religious push, which is becoming divisive and polarizing.
And Alma Ata stands for the claim of health for all. So to me, health
Yes.
for all now is very much connected to the fundamental human right, to the
Yes.
highest attainable health standard. So what
Agree.
does Alma Ata mean for you and for PTM?
No, Alma Ata, see, the issue of this, when we say comprehensive health care, in which all the dimensions of health have to be given due importance, which are not being given due importance. And as a right, I totally agree. Hmm. So there was a time that little bit of charity, little bit of welfare bit was there. Huh? Even that is now being systematically removed. So
Yeah.
when you say what does it mean to me? Yes, of course. It should not be something that as a commodity you buy and sell, you know. And this the curative care dimension of it taking the center stage, where the preventive, promotive, and the rehabilitative, all other dimensions are totally blind spotted. And much more than that, the blind spotting of the vulnerable and the marginalized people who have who are being pushed more and more to the margins and are being exploited more and more predatory. And I'm talking about the tribals, the Adivasis in our country, you know, the Dalits or of the, what you call scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, the gender. So we're seeing this as increase in the violence against the vulnerable. So instead of their rights being given due importance, and being put center stage, and public interest and public good, health as a public good being put center stage, now it's private interest and monopoly and commodification, which is now taking center stage. So when you say, what does it mean to me? It means two things: what we want and what it should be, and what we have to resist, and what under no circumstances we should allow to proliferate more and more. And this is what I mean by the exploitative, from exploitative policies and programs to uh, well, conditionalities of the international financial institutions, and conditionalities of the loans with which they are giving to privatize more, and so when you're going to have private healthcare, where will the rights, health as a right, be protected? You know,
And
so good.
do you think
So
positively,
so
oh sorry, do you think positively that you could implement something of the call for health for all in India, in your country? Or is it going backwards? Is it worse than 2000?
well, actually, if you see the development in the terms of like production of generic medicines, the issue of vaccines, the some of our medical colleges, the doctors they are producing, who are going to states and delivering and uh, you know reaching top positions. So you see that there is something happening of which we can be proud. Huh? But there are other things that are happening which are cause of serious concern. And the increasing privatization, corporatization of healthcare and medical care, which is unregulated, you know, where prices, etc., are unregulated, you know, that is becoming not just a concern, it's becoming a increasing dilemma and a challenge. And we see this growing, and it's pathological. And then when you say, why is it that people are, when they go to a private hospital, come back deeply in debt? And the figures are showing that medical indebtedness is becoming one of the more important causes of indebtedness.
In
You know,
India, you should say, because in Germany we have still the um, insurance system, so people don't pay, or they don't feel they pay for their own health. But in India, they pay out of pocket for their own health. That's
They
why.
pay. See, if you pay out of your pocket and you get good care, rational care, uh, where your dignity of a patient is respected, it's a different thing. But if it becomes irrational, you know, profit maximizing, you know, exploitative, see, that kind out of pocket is, adding chili to a wound,
Yeah.
you know. And another thing is that, yes, we have public health system still, but the budget is 1.2% of the GDP, which is very, very inadequate, very inadequate. And the poorer people, so the government hospitals are overcrowded, there's a shortage of the number of nurses, doctors, the ratio is inadequate. And especially in certain states which are, economically not that well off, illiteracy is more like Bihar, UP, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, etc. You see that the indicators and the parameters of health, the status, is poor compared to Kerala. So they're all India. It's all part of India. And the statistics that you get from Kerala and how they have managed, the COVID outbreak and all, because they have a very good health system on the ground, and they have what you call local governance decentralized. They have a decentralization where the funds and all can be used by the local panchayats. So they know the community, and so it is, and the literacy rate and there are several other things because of which they have these are driven. They've had floods, they've had all tragedies in the last few years. They have sort of managed, and also this COVID thing, they've been able to manage, much better than many other states.
In Tamil Nadu, there is, or there was, the free medication initiative. Is
Yes.
still there, though all people in one state of India could get free drugs. I found this very impressive.
The free medicine scheme in Tamil Nadu, and then they had it also in Rajasthan, and also Kerala also tried to have it. Then the government had a scheme called Jan Aushadhi, where they set up these Jan means public, Aushadhi means medicine. But the doctors are wanting to prescribe costly brand names. So they sabotaged the Jan Aushadhi program.
It didn't work. Not really.
No, but in Rajasthan and in Tamil Nadu, it has contributed. Definitely, it has contributed.
It has. So it's
and in other places they have some amount of it, but also Delhi society, the essential drug policy in Delhi in the 90s, mid 90s, Dr. Ranjit Roy Chaudhary, he was involved with that. That was amongst the first few, and I think they could cut the expenses by 30%, more than that, because all the irrational drugs and all they threw out, and they could buy bulk. If you buy in bulk, the bulk purchase, the cost, economy of scale, and the cost becomes much less. But more than that, then the prescriptions also became more rational. But this was for the government sector. The private sector is another ball game.
Yeah, obviously. and you have a
which is
lot
growing,
of private
which is growing,
hospitals.
which is growing.
In Germany, most hospitals are still publicly paid. They are private, but they are paid by the public insurances. So there's a big difference to India.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is this deterioration that we are saying is unfortunate, and that is why I say. So when they say that corporate sector did this, that corporate sector did this, why are they growing?
And
Huh?
why can
And
they
then,
do it?
and no, then you say the conditionality of World Bank, huh, IMF, international financial institutions, they need to read those documents. What are the conditionalities? And privatization is one of them. You know, so the disinvestment that is taking place of public sector, uh, you know, numerous units, from pharmaceutical to many other kind of public sector units. Many, like including railways and all, there are plans of many of those things. So many trade unions and many of the others are opposing, because casual labor, the dilution of the labor laws, the question of minimum wages, that you don't necessarily need minimum wages, the working hours, that the 8 hours. So what ILO standards, that why are you diluting labor laws for ease for doing business? And then you need investments, foreign direct investments. So whatever the foreign investors want, so you make policies to ensure foreign all this at the cost of your own marginalized people and vulnerable, who are suffering from multiple vulnerabilities. Because our vulnerability, like gender, and you're illiterate, and you're geographically in a remote area, you belong to a certain caste. This caste as a race in many countries, it is a very unfortunate uh, reality in our country. And so the people who have the highest maternal mortality, highest neonatal mortality, highest infant mortality, all these things uh, are basically people belonging to these sections, who need the maximum care, should be needing the maximum care.
Okay, anything else you want to add to and to say to the global world of PHM Germany?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, no, I just want to say that in Hamburg, I think somewhere in the 80s, we had a dialogue, or it was a debate actually, with Siba Gaigi. Dr. Ole Hansen was there that time. He was alive. Remember, uh, he
No,
wrote
I
that book,
was
Inside
small.
Siba Gaigi.
I
Acha,
can't remember.
acha. Inside Siba Gaigi, he wrote that. So, so now if you say Siba Gaigi, no one even remembers there was an entity called Siba Gaigi. So, and that oxyfen-butazone and many of those things, the subacute myelooptic neuropathy, where 11,000 people in Japan, and they had the Kyoto trials. Doctors uh, Ole Hansen had gone as an expert, not on behalf of the victims. Anyway, what I'm saying is that meeting was in Hamburg, which is in Germany, and there was another one which was in Bremen. My connection with that, and it was Gesundheitstag. I'm mispronouncing it. It was something to do
Gesundheitstag.
with
Gesundheitstag.
something like that, And Medico International, Leo Locker was there, that they had organized. So issue of pharmaceuticals and sale of blood. So there were people, friends who had come from Latin Mexico border. The sale of blood. And like for me, it was really the first time that, and how the corporates were buying up from this end, from the poorer people, and what was happening. That's another story. But the fact is that there were so many of these wonderful groups in Germany, and it was such a pleasure. Like when you talk to me, and we have had a long relationship. Huh? Uh, when we were fighting the high dose estrogen progesterone fixed dose combination, public interest litigation, and the campaign, the information that sharing, the sharing had withdrawn that or banned, withdrawn that drug, uh, that had come from our friends in Germany. We didn't have. So the 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 point is that there are health problems, there are socio-economic, political problems taking place increasingly around the world, and that the issue of solidarity amongst each other. And when you are saying, is there anything else I wanted to add? Yes, see, the word compassion, the word love, caring, understanding, these are literally gone out of our vocabulary. Huh? And you hear vaccine, 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 drug, medicine, technology. So then we see from the market friendly, entities take the center stage, and by default, all other aspects of alma mater charter just evaporate like camphor.
Okay.
And no one even talks about alma mater anymore.
No,
You talk to
nobody.
the younger generation, they said, what is that? So we are the institutional memory banks.
Yeah. So thanks a lot for the interview.
Acha. Is this what you wanted, or you wanted me to say
I
some other thing?
just wanted to interview you. Whatever you have to say, you can say. We just founded PHM Germany, so um, I'm rather
Acha.
flexible what you have to say and how long it is. So it's.
Acha. Can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
Uh, See, people forget that India has 26 states. We have about 16, 18 languages and more than 1,000 dialects. I think in Germany you speak only German, if I'm not mistaken.
No, we have a lot of dialects.
Okay, dialect. But
From
these are
Bremen,
different
no,
scripts.
people won't understand people from Bavaria if they speak a dialect.
Okay, dialects. But we have more than 1,000 dialects. But we have different scripts, written language, spoken language. And so for people's health movement, for communicating, and the reality in the south and reality in Kashmir, the reality in the northeast, reality in the tribal areas are so different. They're like different countries all together. They're multilingual, multi-religious, multi-ethnic, multi-whatever. Different. Different food, different music, different songs. But there are basic certain human values and understanding that has held the country together.
Yeah.
And so many people who were involved in the freedom movement, the Boer Committee report and all, which came before Alma Ata Charter. Sorry, can I just add one more thing?
Yeah, you can.
Because I just remembered Dr. Hafdenmaler. He had worked in National TV Institute in Bangalore. You know that?
I know.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I met
Acha.
him.
No. Did you know he had worked in the National TV Institute in Bangalore,
Yeah, and
in
I
Karnataka?
knew.
Acha.
I was in Bangalore and I met Thelma, so I knew.
Acha, okay. Anyway, Dr. D. Banerjee was his friend. And Dr. D. Banerjee was our Dr. Antia, N.H. Antia for Foundation of Research for Community Health was our chairperson of JSA India, and Dr. D. Banerjee was the co-chairperson. And Dr. Antia had brought out a book called Alternative Strategies, Health for All.
Okay.
So
When?
now that, and they're all friends, and they all think both of Dr. Banerjee is now 90 years old. Dr. Antia, unfortunately, is no more. Dr. Arole, Mrs. Arole, unfortunately, no more, And so the point is that when there are so many crises and challenges coming now in front of us, COVID is just one. But the ecological crisis, the climate change, the economic crisis.
Many diseases like TB.
Yes. I was coming to tuberculosis. That many of the other non-communicable diseases and communicable diseases are going to be, not get the due attention, because when the resources are less,
Focused.
and they're going to go for certain technologies only, and if the patents and all are going to be there on these new technologies, it's going to be an extra big problem. But one of my deepest concern is the growing inequities. By the way, now I'm with Initiative for Health and Equity in Society, and besides All India Drug Action Network. And the increasing inequities and the acceptance of it. That how can you have more and more billionaires when more and more people are starving? And the FAO and all are saying that, the UN Special Rapporteur on Health and Human Rights and Food and Human Rights and all are saying that we are going to see increasing malnutrition in the coming time. We are going to be seeing hunger in the coming time. So what is it that's being done at a global level and another level? So food sovereignty, food security, nutrition security, especially of the children, the women, the elderly, the tribal, the Adivasis, and the people who are on the margins, has to be a very, very high priority. And the stopping of the predatory, exploitative, extractive industries that are being given an open door, and like what's happening to the Amazon and things like that, it hurts. Now, we've been reading about the fires in Phoenix and in California. I don't know if it come in your paper.
Yeah.
Flood somewhere else. The Antarctica, Arctic, melting, glaciers melting, and we are seeing this in front of our eyes, and then continue to deny and continue to do the same things. Some report has come on biodiversity which says that 63% of the biodiversity has been lost in last I don't know how many years. And does it pinch? Does the word biodiversity even exist in the consciousness? They say all the environment people are going to deal with that. But if there's no air, no water, no thing, how are human beings going to survive? Where the question of determinants of health, and where does, survival, even the question of survival, is going to be not possible the way we are going. So the need to stop the predatory exploitation has to now be probably given much higher priority than we had ever given in the past. And the power and the control with the governments and all is unfortunately with them, because they are the ones that give money for elections. And what kind of elections they have, Yeah.
Okay.
So can I add one more thing? The Vada na Todo report came out day before yesterday. Vada means Vada na Todo, don't break your promise. So for 20 years, as a group, as a coalition, different groups are working to bring out this report. So the promises made by the government, whichever government comes, in their manifestos, it is judging them on what they promised and what has not got delivered. So this is the Vada Na Todo Abhiyan. That means keep your promise campaign.
Okay.
And yesterday, another one came out, which is about the tribals. And you read it and you feel like crying.